I think it's time we talk about Azem. But to do that, I will be spoiling things up to the end of Dawntrail. So if you have not finished playing through 7.0, then I ask you to put this video to the side and return again when you have. Spoilers will be starting in 3, 2, 1. As a member of the Convocation, Azem is not a name but a title. Just like we know emet-selch's name is Hades and Fandaniel's name was Hermes, the person stepping into the role of Azem would put to the side their own name and take up the name of the station. According to the Encyclopedia Eorzea, the role of Azem is described like this: Azem the traveler, pilgrim of the star and counselor of the people. Their role was to travel across Eorzea and assist people with their troubles. In ways, basically what we are doing now. After all, we are Azem, or a part of them. We know Venat held the role of Azem up until she passed it on to us, or the unsundered version of us at least. We know Azem was sundered, as we have met another part of them when we found Arbert on the first. But while we know they were sundered during the sundering, we don't know what they were up to at the time. Because during the final days, Azem did not join the Convocation in the summoning of Zodiac, and neither did he join Venat in the summoning of Hydaelyn. In fact, we have not really found any accounts of what Azem was up to during the final days and the time after, though of course we can try to make some guesses. Azem of the past is not so different from the Warrior of Light today. Their role was to travel the star and help the people wherever they went. And apparently, even before the sundering, Azem was prone to making choices that benefited the people over what the Convocation wanted. An example of this comes from the short story Error Curtain's Fall, which is from the Tales from the Shadow series. There, Azem goes against the Convocation to stop a volcanic explosion on a tiny island, likely to save the livelihood of the people there. Though when asked why he did it, he told Elidibus it was simply because there are some really tasty grapes on that island, and they didn't want them destroyed. And Elidibus, being kinda sweet and sometimes naive as he is, believed him, though Emmet knew better. So overall, Azem was a bit of a headache for their colleagues, though also friends with them, especially Emmet and Hythlotius. But when the final days came, Azem did not agree with summoning Zodiac, and they left the Convocation, angering many of them to the point that when the time came to make the constellation crystals to preserve the memories of the members of the Convocation, they decided that Azem was unworthy of one. And yet, the crystal does exist, because behind the Convocation's back, Emmet made the crystal, marking it with Azem's signature incantation, a symbol which we need to talk about in a minute. And then he gave the crystal the power to summon allies from far away, which is why we can summon in friends for trials, for example, which is also when we generally see the crystal. But let's talk about the symbol, because recently we saw the symbol not only on the crystal, but on another item as well. During the final fight of Dawntrail, we fought Sveen to try to stop her plans of merging her realm with our own. To do this, he was gonna use the key, a peculiar item that, when it lit up, it showed Azem's symbol on it, making it very likely to be Azem's creation. Now, the key seems to have two main functions: to open up a way to travel between shards, and apparently fuse realities. It's my personal theory that the second ability was not the key's intended function. It simply does not fit with Azem's general goals to ruin one area by fusing it with another. I think it's more that the whole fusing thing is something Azem was not aware of and never intended to happen, but it's there because the key was made in a hurry. Now, these are just theories, but I believe the key was made as a travel device, a way to travel across space, and I think it was made during the final days. Remember when we went to Elpis and we met Hermes and the Metei? We ended up having to fight Hermes and he let the Metei go, releasing them out into the world after they came to the conclusion that life was not worth living and that the extinction of life would be a kindness. And then Kairos was activated and everyone present had their memories wiped. Well, except us and Venat. She was also aware of the Warrior of Light, so she understood what was to happen. Different from all her colleagues, she knew about the final days and Heidelin, and she knew about the Metei. Now, Venat's goal leading up to the final days was gathering supporters and making a plan. And I think one part of the plan was trying to find a way to stop the Metei. Venat's goal leading up to the final days was gathering supporters and making a plan, and I believe part of that plan was speaking to Azem. She was their mentor after all, their friend, and I believe Azem was always part of their plan, and Azem's role was to stop the Metei. They knew Meteion had gone somewhere, far away, further than any of the ancients knew how to travel. Azem, being an expert at travel, likely wanted to follow Meteion. And to do that, they required a tool allowing them to travel not just across the star, but across space, all the way to the edge of the universe. They did not join with the Convocation or Venat because they were working on this creation, their ultimate goal to stop Meteion. But I believe their time ran out. Before they could use the key, they were sundered, and the key was lost. And we don't really know what happened to the key for a long time, until finally the Milala obtained it, at some point before the 5th umbral calamity, which was the Calamity of Ice. At the time, the Milala were Lalafels living on the Aloha Island, and when the sea froze and their homes became uninhabitable, they used the key to travel to another reflection to save themselves. This was the reflection of Sveen. We don't know which reflection that is, as while it's covered in lightning aspected ether, it is unlikely to be the 12th, which was overtaken by lightning during the 2nd umbral calamity, simply because the timeline does not match up, especially as living memory seems to be on their original reflection. And at the end of Dawntrail, we can see the sunrise there. So the possible reflections are the 4th, the 8th, the 9th, and the 11th. Though my current theory is gonna be the 9th, matching up with Final Fantasy IX, which is very heavily referenced throughout the Dawntrail story. But that leads us to what will come next. Here are my theories for where we are going with the expansion. I think a large part of the theme of the expansion will be learning more about Azem, and especially what they were up to during the final days. I believe we will be going to the 9th. We know the lifestyle content, this expansion is gonna be building up things in another realm. So it might be that we are going to be rebuilding on the 9th or somewhere else. But no matter what, I think, and I really hope, we're gonna be learning more about Azem this expansion. But tell me, what do you think? What are your theories about where we're gonna go? And do you have any thoughts about the key and this origin? Let's talk about it down in the comments. And while you're down there, throw me a commentation by liking and subscribing. And in the end, all I want to say is takk fyrir að horfa og the yndislegan dag.